question. Do you still want to reach prospective residents, family, caregivers, and referral sources during this uncertain time? If you answered yes to either of these questions, this session was created for you. Our presenter is the author of Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One, and a longtime gerontology instructor at Johns Hopkins University. A popular media expert, she has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Fast Company, Forbes, the Huffington Post, and the Washington Post. When she's not working, she can be found taking suggestions for what to binge watch on Netflix or Prime during this crazy time. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that. Please join me in welcoming from Kent Island, Maryland, Jennifer FitzPatrick.
Hi everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming on such short notice. I'm so glad to see people that want to hear about how they can keep moving their marketing and sales forward during this crazy time. So obviously we're in a crisis and there's a lot of people suffering and we don't want to minimize that, but there are some productive things that we can still do. And the truth is, for sales and marketing events, there's a lot that we can do to still help the prospective family members, prospective family caregivers, residents, as well as our referral sources. So we're going to try to do some good here while we're going through this crisis. So let's talk about what's going on with your professional referral sources right now. What are they doing? What are they doing? A lot of them are being told to work from home. Some of them have to be at work because they are essential in healthcare or mental health settings. But what are they doing right now? For one, a lot of them are pretty stressed out. Even if somebody doesn't work in healthcare or mental health, they're stressing right now. But think about the 18% of our population who has an anxiety disorder problem. They're really stressed out, a lot of them. So the general public is stressed out, but it's a very, very stressful time for health and mental health professionals. What else are they doing? They're still working with patients and clients that they are going to need to refer. That's not stopping. So if you work in senior living or home care or nursing home or hospice, it's not stopping. You know, people that have dementia or people that have heart failure or other types of conditions. The virus, the coronavirus that's going on, that's important, but there's still plenty of other patients and clients that your referral sources need to know that you are still there for their patients and clients. They want a distraction right now. Now, certainly the folks that are on the front lines in health settings, they don't need a distraction. They are busy, busy, busy. But for those of us who are being sent home, told to work from home, they want a distraction and they want to be productive. A lot of times they are working from home right now. A lot of organizations are pushing non-essential folks to work from home. So that's where your referral sources are right now. As far as your prospective residents and family caregivers, they're stressing out too, big time. And they're probably even more stressed out than your referral sources, particularly because we keep hearing the average age of someone passing away from the coronavirus is 80. So think about the family caregivers that you work with. Think about the prospective residents or prospective patients that you work with. They're stressing about the risk to themselves or another person that they care about or that they love, even probably more than the general public. They need to be reminded of what you offer for when this crisis passes. Because I'll tell you what, right now, a lot of these folks are stuck at home. So if they're a caregiver, taking care of, say, a loved one who has dementia, and lots of stuff is closing, events are canceling, maybe they're afraid to go to a movie if the movie theater is even still open. They're spending a lot of time with their loved one who has dementia, say. They're going to be burnt out. If they haven't gotten home care in place or decided on senior living, they're going to be thinking about it as soon as this crisis passes, or maybe even during the crisis. So think about that. Whatever caregiving stressors your prospective family caregivers for residents are going through, it's going to be magnified during this time. So this is not the time to stop your marketing efforts. So let's talk about what is a live virtual marketing program. So if you're a marketing professional or sales professional, these are what I look at as the options that you have right now. CEUs for professionals, or CEs, we call them. You can do those online. Family caregiver events, you can have those online. Prospective resident events. So if you are, say, an independent living organization, an independent living organization, assisted, that might be an event that you want to have. Also, your prospects and your referral sources want productive ways to spend their time right now. Now, I wasn't really joking. When I'm not working, I do want, if anybody has suggestions, we'll write them in the chat box for Amazon Prime and Netflix for ideas on what we can binge watch during this time, and we'll share them during this. But we also want something productive to do, right? So think about it. What's productive? Your prospective residents, they want to be thinking, all right, if I'm going to move in a year, I want to hear about what are the options. Or family caregivers, you know what? Maybe this is the time to hear about dementia, hear about the services that are out there. For referral sources, your social workers, your nurses, your administrators, your case managers, people that maybe aren't working, they're working more from home. Maybe they want to earn their CE credits. This is something productive that they can do during this time. If you have any kind of online event, your audience is going to appreciate that they can do it on their smartphone, they can do it on their iPad, they're going to be able to potentially do it on their computer, any way that they want. So there's lots of options for them. They're going to love that. So that's somebody writing in. Anne with an E is a great binge watch. Awesome. Thank you, Paula. Thank you very much, Paula. Love it. We'll keep sharing those throughout. Your audience will really like that they can do this from home, or if they are in the office and they have some downtime for some reason. They're going to appreciate the distraction. Okay, so a lot of us are in our heads right now, even those of us who are not in this high-risk group who might really suffer major consequences from the coronavirus. If 18% of our population has an anxiety problem, okay, so they might be really focused on this, okay? This is your professional referral sources and your family caregivers. But also, even if someone doesn't have an anxiety disorder, if they're binging on the news, they're constantly getting updates on their phone, this is closed, that's closed, they're getting panicky, they're gonna appreciate the distraction and they're gonna focus and remember that the positive distraction came from your organization who kept business moving forward during this crisis time. So if you got an event already scheduled, just move it online now. And I'm going to tell you 3 simple steps on how to do that. And again, as we go, I know some of you might be totally new to doing an online event. I want you to write in any questions, any comments. Truly, I will answer the most basic question, any question at all, please. And if you have best practice, if you already do online events and you have best practices that I'm not mentioning, feel free to jump in and write those too. So I want you to tell you some things that are really positive. When Generations does a lot of online events. And I want to share with you some of the feedback that we get from our customers about what they love about doing an online event. Now, remember, you can do an online event with Generations or you can do it on your own. And I'm going to tell you how to do it by yourself too. We're here for you if you want to work with us, but you can also do it on your own. You already have a speaker, you already have somebody set up. Maybe that person was supposed to fly in and do an event with you. But I want to remind you of some of the positives that you don't have to worry about when you do an online event versus an event that is in person, maybe in your building, at a hotel, at a restaurant. You don't have to worry about the meeting space. You don't have to pay for the meeting space. Now, I know if you already had a meeting space scheduled, you might have to pay for it, but that's something that either maybe you can get a credit, you can use that meeting space later if you've planned. You have to deal with parking challenges. If you're a senior living community or a nursing home, I know that there's so many parking challenges. You don't have to tell your employees to park somewhere else. You don't have to hire a valet service. So that's something that you don't have to worry about. You don't have to deal with refreshments. You don't have to put that strain on your dining services or bring in catering. Worry about the weather. And I think all of you who have events on a regular basis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When's the perfect time to have an event? A senior living event, a home care event, a hospice event. If you're an elder law attorney firm, when's the perfect time? There is a window. So people don't come out as much when it snows, when it rains, but they also don't come out when it's really nice out or when it's really cold out, even though it might be really nice out. So we know we lose people from weather all the time. That is not typically going to happen most technology is pretty weather savvy these days. So you're probably not going to have that problem. You don't have to stress out. Are we going to have drop-offs? People won't attend the event because the weather's too good. The weather's too bad. You don't have to worry about keeping your bathrooms clean. And I know we're keeping everything so clean right now. We're Lysoling the heck out of everything. But that's not something you don't have to worry about right now. You don't have to worry, are your guests going to have the bathrooms clean? These are the items that are some of the positives. You can skip this. You don't have to worry about it. So what are the steps to turning your current event that you were thinking about canceling into an online event? So you can either, one, work with a vendor who offers online events. And again, Generations is one of them, but you don't have to work with us. You could do this completely on your own. You can, your company or your organization probably has a platform like Zoom, GoToMeeting, or you can even just use Facebook Live or another platform. So you probably talk to your organization, find out what you have, but if you don't even have Zoom or GoToMeeting or one of those, you might even be able to run your event as a Facebook Live or use one of those other types of free services. Put it on your organization's Facebook page. Get your speaker to agree to provide the event online from their home or office. Now, you can show them, if you already have a speaker booked, you can show them this video and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Now, if I were going to be doing, theoretically, you could have the speaker standing up in a conference room at a podium or, walking around. If that, you could do it that way too. Maybe that person goes to a local office space in their area. They have they get a green screen. There's a lot of ways to do it, but typically it's super easy nowadays. If you have a platform like Facebook Live, if you have one of those Zoom or GoToMeeting or something like that, this is not hard. And Zoom has a help desk. Those products that you pay for do have a help desk, but just get your speaker to agree. This is a time when all speakers have to get over their phobia if they have a phobia about virtual events. Because I'm telling you, even though right now we're in crisis, we're trying to figure out what to do to keep events going, even after this, I think we're going to see a paradigm shift with events. People are going to see the value of events. So as much as this is a crisis and people are sick and people are dying and it's horrible, we don't want to minimize that. But I think that that's going to be one of the paradigm shifts. Look at all we keep seeing on the news. This is moving telemedicine forward. I think that we're going to see some changes in the way that people view virtual events. So really give some gentle guidance. If your speaker is reluctant, just let them know we really need you to be comfortable, get on camera, share your message, do your event with us, but just, you got to do it online with us right now. And again, most speakers, they have to adapt because I think this is where things are going to be going. So I want to give you a last tip. If you are going to do this, you got your speakers on board, you got your platform, great. Make sure you have a moderator. So Darlene is Generations online learning moderator. So what that means is that she is on every one of our events. And if she for some reason can't do it, we have another person on the event, our CE events, our family caregiver events, everything. Because like the other day, actually, I think it was Wednesday, I was doing an online CE webinar and somehow I went mute. So she sent me a chat in the chat box and said, hey, Jen, we lost your audio. Clicked a button, we're back online. So you really always want to have another person. You don't want to just be just the speaker. So whether that's somebody from your organization or if you do work with a vendor like Generations, you have a moderator. There's been times where Darlene, we both keep our cell phones right by our computers when we do online events, and she'll text me and say, hey, Jen, there's something weird going on in your background. So you want to have a moderator. So if you're doing it internally without a vendor, just make sure that you have the speaker, but you also have somebody moderating, making sure that if, for example, somebody has a question, somebody's getting disconnected, they can be helped, and you're also communicating with your speaker. Okay, so those are the 3 steps. If you've already got an event set up, but you want to move it online, okay? And I know that I'm sure that they're getting really flooded with requests for organizations that have never done it with Zoom and GoToMeeting and those platforms. You can do it really simply like a Facebook Live. It's free. You got to ditch perfection. If it's going to be your first online event and you're doing it on your own without a vendor that knows how to do this, know that you might make some goofs, but people are just going to appreciate that you're doing something that's giving them information that they need and that it is a distraction. If you want to start from scratch, or you already have an event set up with Generations and you want to make it a virtual, or you want to set up a new virtual event, we can help. We do this all the time. We've been doing it for years. So if you want to do this, we do CEs, we do family caregiver, we prospective resident events. What we do, and this is, if you're going to do it on your own with your organization, you can do this too. But I want to tell you, when you do it with Generations, we give so if it's a sponsored event, so if your assisted living, your home care agency, your elder law attorney firm, whoever's the sponsor who's hosting the event, that's paying for the event, whether it's a CE or a family event, we give them an intro time, a little middle break, and closing time where they can talk about their services. They might show a short video about their services. They introduce giveaways, like how somebody can get more information, or a giveaway from the organization that's sponsoring it. But again, if you're not working with Generations on this, you can do that too. You want to make sure that even though if you have a speaker that's giving good content, that you still have time to say, okay, here's what we do. Here's how we're taking admissions or new residents during this coronavirus crisis. Or you show a video about your services. So just know that if you do an event like this with Generations and you are the one sponsoring it, you get time. And of course, if it's a CE, we have to build that time in as to not take away time from the CE. If it's an hour CE, we probably would make the event 70 minutes. So you have time in the intro, middle break, and the closing. Having an online event has many similar benefits to an in-person event. So I've always maintained an event, even a live in-person event, is never just about that day. It is about all the pre-work that you do with your prospects, and it's all the post-work that you do after. It's a relationship builder. So if someone comes to the event, that's awesome. We want you to meet them in person, all that's great, but it's the emails ahead of time. It's, hey, picking up the phone and saying, got your RSVP, so glad you're going to be able to come. It's that they see your posts on social media. You keep getting contacts with each referral source or each prospective family member, resident, caregiver. So you want to keep in mind that the online event can offer the same benefits. Now, if you have a long lead time, so I have a whole video on if you've got months to prep. So I'm going to show you that link at the end. So you're very welcome to look at that. It's a quick video, about a half hour, on how to plan when it's not a crisis. So I typically say you get 4 to 8 touches or contacts with each referral source by having an online event. But if you're going to do an online event next week or in 2 weeks, you can still get 3 to 5 contacts with each referral source or prospective family. Each 3 to 5 touches. And let me show you how you can do that. And again, if you have questions at all, any question, you might think it's a really simple question. I'm really glad to hear it. You write it in the chat section, but also if you have any best practices that I'm not talking about, you've done online virtual events, and you have some secrets that you want to share, let us know. We're glad to hear them. Okay. So your first step, if you're going to do this, whether you do it with us at Generations or you do it just internally with your organization, create a simple invitation. Maybe you don't go to your printer or your fancy design company. Maybe just make a simple invitation that doesn't have to be super fancy. And if your design company or your ad agency that you work with is available and they can do it quickly, like in the next couple of days, great. But you might just decide to create a simple meme or a simple invitation. Yesterday, I decided that I wanted to provide this service to people to show them how to do an online event in case they want to integrate it into their marketing event. We just created a simple meme and a simple invitation. Courtney on my team put together something on Canva, which is a free service. I used Canva also. I used Canva to create memes to put on social media. When you have a speaker, though, what's often really important, first of all, is put a photo and a bio of the speaker. If you're working with Generations, this is the link where you get that information. But if you're working with any other speaker, photos and bios capture attention. So try to use photos and bios on your invitation. And this isn't just for virtual events. This is for any event. If there's CE information, just make sure it's on there. What the professional needs to know, we want it to be on there. And as you set the event date, do e-blast, do social media posts, do individual messages to, even though you're going to do a big e-blast to your big database, also send individual messages, individual emails to prospective families that have been looking or they're in your database. Hey, I just wanted to let you know we're not having that in-person event, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that we are doing something online and we'd love to still have you. Make that personal ask. So right there, if they see one of your social media posts and one e-blast, and then you do one personal invitation via email or text, that's 3 contacts. That's 3 touches with your referral source or your family caregiver. Do a mailer. If it's not next week, I would seriously still consider doing a mailer. Getting any kind of mail is still nice because most of what we're getting is bills and junk mail. And if someone gets something real that they can use in the mail, people pay attention to it. Still believe in it. I know a lot of us want to go green, but especially if your prospects are in that older than baby boomer age group, they appreciate a mailer. They really do. So if you're doing an event next week with a virtual event, maybe don't do a mailer. It might not get there in time, but if it's going to be 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out, I would say do a mailer. Consider that. So there's your 4th touch with your prospective referral source or your prospective family caregiver. Pick up the phone. People are at home. People are at home. Now listen, if your referral source is a nurse that works in the emergency department, I would not pick up the phone. But if your referral source is a care manager, if your referral source is the social workers at a nursing home, if your referral source is a psychotherapist, I would pick up the phone and say, hey, just wanted to let you know we're having this event, this virtual event. You can get CEs. There's your next touch, right? So you see where I'm going. I think we're up to 5 touches. That's potentially your 5th touch with your referral source or your family caregiver. By the way, people are home. If they recognize the caller ID, they might very well answer your phone. You might be able to develop a phone relationship right now more than you've ever been able to. Now, I hate the phone. I don't love it. I have to force myself to pick up the phone. And some of you might be like that too, but right now it's effective, especially for family caregivers. They're stuck at home. Maybe they're taking care of a loved one and they need tips. Like, what do I do with this situation? Maybe that might be, you can give them the resources. Here's the Alzheimer's Association helpline number. Okay. What if they aren't tech savvy? So maybe you're inviting your referral sources or you're inviting your family caregivers, prospective residents, and they're like, oh, you're having a virtual event. I'm out. I hate computers. So this is an opportunity to forward the relationship. So maybe say, well, if you have 10 minutes, I'd be glad to teach it to you over the phone. Here's how you do it. And also that is going to show them that you really care, that you want them to participate. And wow, what a nice message that sends about you or your organization. If you take the time to say, hey, I'm going to show you exactly what to do on Zoom. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to click on GoToMeeting. You know what? We're going to take the time for you to understand this. But also with so many of these platforms, there's a simple listen option. You just call an 800 number, you plug in a code. A lot of people, if they're intimidated by the computer, just remind them that there is a listen option. You can just call in. Call it a phone event. It's just a phone event. You know what? If it's somebody that's afraid of the tech savvy option, say, you know what? We're having a phone event, if that's your demographic. So at least a day out. Now, again, if you look at my video about how to have a virtual event, how to do it well, I usually, when you're not in crisis mode, trying to throw a virtual event together quickly, I would say do this ahead of time, but you want a representative from your organization who's going to showcase you. So I remember I talked about having that early in the intro section, the midpoint section, and then the ending, the conclusion of the virtual event. We want not just the speaker to give their content, but we want you to be able to market and say, listen, here's what we offer, or here's a story about how we helped somebody recently, or we're going to show a video, but I want you to decide at least minimum one day ahead of time, who's going to represent you, who's going to represent your organization and do that marketing on the virtual event. At least a day ahead of time, you want to have a lead magnet. So I believe we're probably at touch 6 now. So you're seeing you can get 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe you're not going to do every single one of these, but you can get many touches with your referral sources and or your family caregivers. What's your lead magnet going to be? So this is going to be, okay, when all this craziness dies down and everybody's out and about again, when, maybe say if you come visit our community by July 1st or May 1st, or maybe you give a date, we're going to, if you come to a tour or you come meet with us, we're going to give you, it could be anything. It could be a book. If you hire Generations, I would love it if it was Cruising Through Caregiving, but it could be any book, any, relevant book to what you do. Maybe if you're an elder law attorney, maybe you've written a book, or if you're an organization that you work with certain speakers, maybe you have their books on hand. Or it could be a bottle of wine. It could be we're raffling off some prize, and if you do a tour within X amount of time, we'll put your name in it. But it could be really anything. It could be really, you could be as creative as you want. One of the things that you might do if you don't really want them coming by your community because you're just too busy and you don't want to say, all right, May 1st, because we don't know what's happening next with this crisis, you might give out something like Generations, for example. We sell virtual webinar codes where you can go on one of our public webinars. Usually you have to pay for them, but they can take a CE webinar for free if they have this code. You can buy them and you can just email it to them. That can be a follow-up. Listen to their problems. So guys, why do we have these events? You guys have these events because you want more business. You want people to know what you offer. You want to get traffic into the building or to your agency, your organization. Understood, your sales and marketing people, nothing wrong with that. That's great. But why are they coming? They have problems. During events, when they're interactive, the referral sources talk about, here's problems we have at our care management practice with how to place residents or how to help family members. Here's issues we have in our nursing home with discharges. Listen to what their problems are, because you might have solutions that you can offer to them. So try to have as many of your sales and marketing team, admissions, whatever you call those folks, community relations, have them on the event. If you can't be on the event, listen to it later. Listen to what your referral sources are talking about. Listen to what the family caregivers are talking about. What are their problems? What's stressing them out so much about caring for their loved one? After the virtual event, at least 1 to 2 weeks after, follow up with your lead magnet. A month after that, have another good reason to follow up. Maybe it's another virtual event. Hey, you came to our last virtual event. Love to see you there. We're having another one. Or, you know what? This crisis is over. We're super excited we've Purelled the heck out of our building. We'd love to have you come in. We're having a dinner. We're having an in-person speaker, but have another good reason to follow up. See, you can have all these touches with your referral sources and the family caregivers. So aside from this is a great option during this crisis time, I want you to really know that there are other benefits of the virtual event. You have the ability to reach a huge number of people over an unlimited geographic area. So let's say you're a large corporation. Let's say you have lots of franchises in different parts of the country. Let's say you're a senior living company and you have buildings all over the East Coast or all over the West Coast. You can have this event and all of you share the cost. All of you share the cost of the speaker or share the cost of using Zoom or GoToMeeting. It's a very cost effective, and it's really a very less expensive way to have an event. And you reach more people in different geographic areas. You can try speakers that maybe you wouldn't have had the budget to fly in previously. Also, what the customers that I work with, that Generations works with, that we've hosted, that they've sponsored virtual events with us, they have said that they've gotten people that they've never had access to previously. So think about what are the barriers to actually getting someone into your in-person event if you didn't have this coronavirus going on? What are your barriers? Anybody have an idea of barriers? I'd love if you write into the chat section. I'll either give you a free copy of Cruising Through Caregiving, or you can have a webinar code to do a free CE webinar at another time. So first person that writes in, what are the barriers in getting people to your in-person events? First person that writes in, you can choose between a copy of Cruising Through Caregiving or a virtual CE code that you can use for a CE credit. And you can write directly to me. Oops. Anybody barriers? I guess nobody has barriers. Even when the coronavirus is coming, anybody got a barrier? We got some people writing in, hang on. Okay, got some people writing in. So the first person, okay, here we go. So, okay. Yeah, Anne-Marie, thank you. Can't leave your loved one at home. Very, very good. So Anne-Marie, you can tell us if you want a virtual CE webinar code or you want a copy of Cruising Through Caregiving mailed to your house. Just give us your address or to your office, whatever. Paula, travel. Yeah, traveling. Another one is still at work. Can't take time off. They simply don't have the time. Yeah, there's a lot of barriers. Terry, you have a Terry, you have a question. I'm going to address that in a minute. I want to finish with this part. Sorry, I missed your question earlier. Okay. So great answers. So there's a lot of reasons that people won't come to the in-person event. You are going to get new people in front. You're going to get in front of new people. Even if we didn't have this crisis going on, there are people that still just would not come to your in-person event. So travel is definitely one. Can't take time off of work is definitely another. But you know what? For family caregivers, a big part of it is, oh, I would feel guilty if my husband found out that I was actually looking for help outside the home. Or, the denial. My dad's not that bad. So there are even more reasons why people don't come to your events. You will get in front of new people that you've never had access to for your mailing list, for your e-blasts, that you've never gotten access to previously. So under normal circumstances, I believe you can have minimum of 4 to 8 touches with each one of your referral sources or your prospects. In crisis, I believe you can absolutely get at least 3 touches. Terry, I'm going to get back to you in just a second about your question. Ask us for help if you have questions. So if you want to hire us, we'd love to work with you, no question. But if you have a quick question, if you're not working with us, if it's like a one sentence answer, we're glad to answer them. If you email us or give us a call, we can give you some help. But I want to just lead you all to the virtual event with normal lead time. Check it out. This is the YouTube link. I'm actually, Darlene, I'm going to just cut and paste this and put this in the chat section so everybody can cut and paste it if they're interested. Because I know it might be hard to cut and paste, but I'm going to get in the chat section. I'm going to put this in so everybody has it. So this is the link right here for if maybe you want to plan a virtual event. Hopefully this crisis is going to be over by the fall, God willing. But maybe you're like, I'm not going to do this now, but I want to do it when I have a lot of lead time. This is the webinar that you want to check out. It's a recording I did a couple of months ago. So feel free to check that out anytime. Share with anybody you think could benefit from it. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask. We are here to help you. We're all got to band together during this crisis time. So now I want to answer that question that Terry out of Davie, Florida just asked us. It's great to see you on here today, Terry. So with a virtual support group, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a really great idea. So there's a lot of organizations, and just so you know, there's a lot of organizations currently doing it. So the Alzheimer's Association does a lot of virtual programs. Hilarity for Charity, Seth Rogen's charity that offers free care grants to persons who have loved ones of persons who have dementia in their family. They offer virtual support groups. So yeah, Terry, I think it's an awesome idea. I really do. And I think especially remember, if your demographic is above baby boomer age, and they don't love computers. Now, some of them do. Some of them have embraced technology, but if you've got people that haven't, just make sure that you have a phone option. I would just make sure of that. If everybody's not tech savvy, either try to do a quick tutorial with them, or maybe have a phone option where, hey, you can just call into this 800 number and you're part of the support group still. Terry, I think it's an awesome idea to run your support groups that way. So want to invite anybody else to ask any questions, make any comments. If you have, so 3 things. 1, if you have any ideas that we haven't talked about yet, feel free to write them in if you want to share your great ideas on how to have a successful virtual event. That's 1. If you have any ideas on great Netflix or Amazon Prime shows to watch while we have time to binge watch, please write that in. And if you have any last comments or questions, feel free to write that in. This program is going to be made almost immediately. I'm going to put it on LinkedIn. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. So if you want to share this recording with anybody, I'll put it on YouTube. So feel free to share with anyone that couldn't be with us, or share with your organizations. Glad to share it. But thank you all for joining us. And I'm just going to leave the chat box open if anybody would like to jump in. And I'm going to ask Darlene for just a moment. Darlene, if you wouldn't mind unmuting the audience in case someone would like to ask something verbally, if they'd rather not write in, if they have a comment or question. We're going to probably hear a little background noise once Darlene does that, so prepare yourselves. Anybody? Last comments, last questions? All right, well, I want to say thank you
Jen, you can wait for just 1 second because I've unmuted everybody, but it looks like some still have muted. So if you want to unmute yourself locally on your computer, just go ahead and click on the little microphone to unmute, and then you can ask any questions that you do have. I have everybody unmuted, but it appears that there's still some that are muted.
Okay, so my last comment is going to be, I know that this is a lousy time. It's a scary time. It's a stressful time. Most of us are going to be just fine, I believe. That's my prayer. That's my hope. But right now, there are still prospective residents, prospective caregivers, and even referral sources who need what you do. So consider the virtual event as a way to reach them during this difficult time. Thanks again, and have a great weekend.